Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I thought we would have a look at some data mines from Zabby, talking about some of the changes to the infantry events and also just kind of talking about some future events that are probably happening this week. You may remember that Gaijin talked about the idea that they are going to bring in some interesting events, some older historical ones which we haven't seen in a long time. And it looks like the data mines gives us a bit of a hint in what that's going to be. So as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let's get into it. The first piece of news is about infantry itself. Obviously, the third CBT is going on right now. Today, they are doing a test of the arcade mode, so if you want to give it a go, make sure to do so. And if you're not in the CBT, make sure to apply. It's pretty fun and always nice to try some new things in War Thunder, and this obviously is pretty new. They changed some presets in terms of certain guns, the M4A1 and also the M16A4. They added a preset where you bring in the M240B, which is the big old machine gun, and it's pretty fun to play. You just whacker everything. Then also some frag grenades, and they removed some presets from them as well. So they're trying to make them different. One of the things, the way that the infantry is working in War Thunder, is the gun seems to be kind of like the vehicle, and then you get the modifications based on the gun, which will unlock different presets and also unlock different things for your character, which is a little bit confusing, but that's pretty much how it's working at the moment. So when you see like an M4A1, you're seeing the M4A1, but you're also seeing all of the weapons that it can carry as well alongside it, and those will be available through modifications, same with like body armor and things like that. That part of the infantry test we haven't really seen yet, apart from in data mines. We'll have to see how that goes in. Another thing to also mention is the Hummer H1. The windows are now hidden on the wreck, which means that they won't just randomly be there. And then also, the graphics settings were getting mixed up between the tabs, so they've fixed them. If you don't know, they've actually added an independent graphics setting for infantry, which is really cool. And it's actually one of the areas of the game that they're adding, which I'm really hyped about, and I hope we get more customization between the different modes in order to make sure that people get the best experience that they do. They also changed all of the Russian guns' camera shake on the reload, so I think it's a lot less. Generally, the camera shakes feel a lot less in this CBT. Might be just because I'm running at a better FPS now, or it could be something else, but generally it just feels a little bit better. And also they changed the crawling and jumping animations. They do feel really weird, and it's something that Gaijin hasn't been able to get right in any of their games. I don't know what it is about like the climbing animations and also the jumping animations. It's just odd in terms of how it's working. But even on this CBT, even after the changes, it feels very, very odd. Then they did some more changes. They added the North American Infantry CBT cluster. Super cool that they've done that, which means that now NA players actually have a decent ping. One of the biggest issues with War Thunder in general, I feel like, is the fact that we don't have expansive servers all over the world, and hopefully Gaijin changes that. You know, they've been doing a lot of updates to their server kind of infrastructure over the last few years, but they still haven't really expanded it. So like players who are in, let's say, Asia or South America, South Africa, I suppose, as well, just kind of get screwed. And with infantry coming out, ping is going to be super important in terms of playing. It already is when it comes to War Thunder, but now it's going to be a next level. So hopefully they get that sorted out. Also, at the same time, they added some new mission objective text, such as destroy enemy bombers, and also added in, obviously, the arcade battles and everything that they're testing out for infantry. For the infantry CBT, every single day is different. So the first day was the new map, the Kivu. The second day is AB battles, and the third day is RB battles on all of the locations. So they're basically just trying out a bunch of stuff. And also, weirdly enough, they have updated an event from 11 years ago. This is the Black Thursday event, and basically it's an F-86A5 versus a MiG-15 event that Gaijin did over a decade ago. And you may remember they talked about the idea that they were going to do a bunch of historical events over the next period of time. Well, maybe this one is one of them, because I can't remember a time where they've updated something after 11 years, and now they're going to be bringing it back. What we're going to do is have a look at what that event looked like 11 years ago, and then also some other events that might be funny if they ever brought them back too. So this was the Black Thursday event that Gaijin ran in 2015. Isn't that absolutely crazy? So they're probably going to be bringing back this in the year of 2026, 11 years later. And this event was pretty simple. It was a bunch of MiG-15s versus some other vehicles. Historically, the MiG-15s actually fought the F-80s and F-84s in the Black Thursday event. Basically, what happened in the Black Thursday, you can read it here, but some MiG-15 squadrons attacked a unit of B-29s, which were being defended by F-80s, and also there was some F-84s around. Turned out the MiG-15s were just way superior to those vehicles, so therefore the B-29s suffered some losses. 3 were shot down and 7 were damaged, which is a pretty big amount, and also the MiG-15s weren't even hurt. So a huge victory in the Korean War. And basically, Black Thursday was a historical event on the Korean map, which is one of the oldest maps in the game for War Thunder, and it's F-86s versus MiG-15s, which are trying to shoot down B-29s. And so it's very similar to the Flight of the Swallows event, if you remember that, which Gaijin runs. Well, they ran it recently, actually, but after once again not being in the game for a long time. That is the P-51s defending the B-17s, where the Me-262s are attacking them. So kind of fun that they're doing all of these types of things. So yeah, maybe there'll be some decals available. You can see some decals that were here, which got added to the game in the updates after. And then also some camos, which were there too, which you could download. So they weren't available in the game, but they were on stuff like War Thunder Live. If that was a thing at that time, I kind of remember. But what I wanted to point out is if they've decided to do these kind of historical events, I've talked about this before, it would be really cool if they did kind of like this whole War Thunder Classic idea, where they don't like create an independent game from War Thunder, but instead imagine if they ran old events again in the kind of modern War Thunder area. Just if you are a newer player or somebody who missed those events, you could play them again and get the same rewards from those events. So they don't have to add like new rewards or anything like that. They can just add the same ones again. So therefore, it can be a bit more fun. For example, you had Summertime Madness. Now, one of the crazy things about War Thunder is how crazy the old events were. A lot of people talk about the New Age events being hard to grind, and obviously the challenge events that they used to be. So like the 5 challenge events, there was always this idea that they were too tough because you had to use like specific vehicles. Obviously the crafting events were just really obnoxious, right? You had to grind like 75k every day for like 10 days straight, and you only got like half the vehicles. The whole thing was just a mess. But the funny ones is when you actually have a look at like the really old events. So like Summertime Madness was the first kind of set of like summer events that Gaijin did, and they just had a bunch of really cool ideas which we just never really saw again. So this was from 2014, so 12 years ago, and it was one of the first events that I remember doing. And you could get yourself the Panzerkampfwagen 3 Sen and the T-3457. And the way that you do these things, you can see here that you have missions to get rank 2 and 3 premium tanks, and then you had discounts and modifications and research for Golden Eagles, missions to get rank 2 premium aircraft, and missions to get rank 3 and 4 premium vehicles. So this was like an event that would go on over like 3 weeks, and it would have separate events all along it, which you could complete, which was pretty cool. And you had discounts through it as well, so you would kind of pick the timings that you'd want to do. Now, one of the hilarious things that Gaijin also used to do with these events, you can see that this was posted on the 31st of July. Guess when this event started? That's right, the 31st of July. So they literally just gave you no warning that these things were happening, and bang, straight into it. It was absolutely crazy. And that is exactly the same as how they used to do crafting events and stuff. They got a lot better at it nowadays. They actually announce the events, about a week before they happen, or you can kind of like work out the structure, like with battle passes, right? Like we know that this battle pass, which is coming up, there's only like 6 days left of this one, so therefore the next one will be done or in pretty soon. But yeah, it's these just dropped on you like a lead hammer, so it was just really funny how they used to do it. But yeah, you can see like the different ones. So here you could get the missions to get the A6M2, the Wellington Mark 1, and the I-16. So this was a way that you could get quite a lot of premium vehicles instead of G'ing them, right? But when you actually have a look at the challenges that you had to do to get these things over this time, absolutely insane. So from the 4th of August to the 11th, so however many days that is, that's like 7 days, right? So in order to get all of these, you had to complete all of these different ones. So straight away, achieve 125 victories on US aircraft of rank 2, 3, or 4. So remember, if other people are doing this event, they're also fighting against you to try and win this. You also needed to get these in order to get some more SL. And then also, if you wanted to get into the 5,000 premium aircraft giveaway, you had to complete the completion of even one of these hunting frenzy things. So the idea is you have to get 125 victories over a 7-day period to get the A6M2. Okay. Now imagine if you also wanted the boomerang. So now you need 250 victories over 7 days. Then you want the I-16 Type 28. Okay. Now you need what? 375 victories over 7 days. And then you want the Wellington. You see what I mean? How it just keeps adding up and adding up. So these events were very much designed for you would get one of these vehicles, but it was impossible to get all of them. And this obviously is something that's very different to the modern day events in War Thunder, where it's more designed nowadays, where like everybody gets a chance to actually get access to these types of vehicles. Whereas like back then it was like, okay, you have to pick and choose. And just like the crafting events, it was a terrible idea. Then you had stuff like the golden finale of the Summertime Madness, which this was, the thing at the end. And what would happen is you would actually, on specific days, if you got specific amounts of wins, you actually just got some GE. That's pretty cool, right? Like, they don't do that anymore. No, don't know why. They used to do stuff like this. But yeah, it's just gone. And that sucks. So things like that would be really cool. Here is the Summertime Madness 2014. So you thought the one before was a bit crazy. They upped it and went a bit absolutely nuts with it as well. So the way that this one worked is from the 11th of August to the 18th, because remember, right? So this is 2014 again. This one is also 2014. So this is in the same year. So while you are getting those like 500 wins in air, at the same time, there is another event going on, which is a week after this one. So this is the ground event, which is going on for a week too, and you have to do the same thing. You have to gain 40 victories while playing Army or Aviation of the corresponding nation era 2 to 5. You should also be on the first place in final scoreboard, having no less than 900 points for AB and no less than 600 points in RB and SB. So in air, you have to win 125 times 5 if you want all of the vehicles. In ground, you have to win 40 victories to get the premium tank or aircraft of the corresponding nation, and also be in first place. And you have to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Oof. Nuts, right? This is crazy. And this was kind of the second part of the event. This was for the rank 3 and 4 for it, where the other ones were for the rank 2 vehicles. Now, remember, I think War Thunder only had up to rank 5 of the vehicles. It's also weird how they talk about ranks 3 and 4 here, and then they talk about eras here, when era and rank means the same thing. But yeah, it was a bit confusing. So yeah, it's just nuts what you had to do in order to get these things. Then let's talk about the year after. So this is the Summertime Madness of 2015. This is where the KV-1B got added. to the game, if you didn't know. And there was a bunch of other stuff that was also on offer, such as the P63A10, which was the main prize for air. Now, they massively reduced what you could actually get out of this event compared to the previous one, but you still had the big tournament where you could get a bunch of GE. You can see here you could actually get 100,000 GE if you won the tournament, which is just like, what? What are you doing? But yeah, just an insane amount. Now, the way that these kind of tasks worked is you had access to a bunch of different challenges that you had to complete over a period of time. And they were all linked to one day. So if you were busy that one day, you were screwed. You were just absolutely done in. You had the Madness in the Skies, which was to get the P63A10, and then you had the Madness on the Ground, which was in order to get the, well, ground stuff for the KV-1B. So in order to complete all of these, some of them are not too bad. So destroy enemy fighters while flying aircraft from either Japan or US. So you can do this in arcade pretty easily, not too bad. Obviously, you need to hope that other people are playing fighters. Most of the time, people do. Destroy 60 ground targets controlled by AI whilst flying aircraft from either US or Germany. So you need every nation ground out before this event starts. And guess what? They tell you about this event the day it starts. So good luck with that. Achieve 30 victories whilst flying aircraft from either Britain or Germany. So you need 30 victories in 2 days. Destroy 30 ships flying bombers from either Great Britain or Japan. This was before Naval was in the game, so they're talking about AI ships. So you have to get lucky in what maps that you get. And yes, there are some arcade maps with a few like patrol boats on them and stuff. Same with realistic, sorry. But yeah, you need to just get lucky with that. Destroy 20 enemy aircraft flying an attacker, bomber, or flying boat. That was the next one. Destroy 40 enemy aircraft flying in the Focke-Wulf 190 or MiG series. So you need to literally use specific vehicles. Destroy 30 enemy attackers or heavy fighters flying aircraft from one of the following. So, imagine this one. You have to specifically pinpoint attackers while also using stuff like Peshkas or IL-10s. So this is hoping that enough people are doing this event that you will all fight each other. And then also destroy 30 enemy flying boats with the floats event being available. Nuts that was the case. And then achieve 3 victories, finishing first place at the end of the battle. And then the last one, destroy 30 enemy aircraft flying an aircraft from any nation. And you can guess that the other one, the ground one, is as bad. And remember, you only have 1 day to do each of these. So look at this. Destroy 10 enemy aircraft whilst driving an SPA from any nation. Destroy 30 enemy ground vehicles whilst flying aircraft from either Germany, USSR, or USA. And they added these war in the mid-air events and stuff like this. These were basically AAs versus planes. And it just meant the AAs got annihilated. So yeah, that's what existed. Destroy 20 enemy SPAAs whilst driving an SPAA from any nation. Are you mad? This was before, by the way, all the 35mm ridiculousness. This is like the ZSU era when you were using stuff like that. So yeah, absolutely nuts. Then you had stuff like Chronicles of World War II, you know? These ones, so they kind of morphed into the pages of history, I suppose. But the way that these used to work is you would get a event calendar. So you would get like a calendar of different historical events that happened, which would turn up in the events tab. And you would have specific like historical lineups for one side and the other side, but you had to have those vehicles researched in the game in order to actually use them in the lineups. So if you had them researched and you were playing with them, then you would get challenges that you would have to complete in the game, or sorry, in those missions, these ones right here. And that would mean that you would, if you completed enough of them, you would get the unique vehicles and you would get the decals. So you can see here you had the T-18E2, the good old Boarhound, the Tandem Mai, the Lorraine, and the Whirlwind. And all of these were available, plus, you know, some decals, which were really cool, plus some decorations as well. Some of them are quite expensive nowadays, if I remember. And it was just generally kind of an interesting event, but it had one crux. And that crux was the fact that it was based around these historical battles, and you had to complete these events or these objectives in these historical battles. And since they were in the events tab, most people didn't know that they were there. And then also, the other problem is when you set up an asymmetrical event, everybody's going to play the strongest side. They're just going to do that because they want to do the event quickly, so they want to use the better vehicles. So unless it's a 50-50 event, which guess what? None of them are, because people have perceptions on what is stronger and what is not stronger, you have two options. You either sit in a queue for 10 minutes, hoping to get on the great side and just annihilate the enemy team, or you squad up with a bunch of people and you go forward and try your best to be able to try and get everything done. And that's how it goes. Now, also, another thing should be mentioned is look how long these events are and how many of them there are as well. These events were mammoth events. There was a lot going on that you had to focus on. You needed a lot of different vehicles and a lot of different lineups, and it was just absolutely crazy. Like this event, like what, day one was the 14th of April, or day two was the 14th of April. And then it went all the way to day 25, which is the 8th or 9th of May. So this event was nearly a month long to be able to get all this stuff. And you needed to complete 3 out of the 4 objectives during each of the cycles. And they were updated every 3rd day. So basically, you had 2 days in order to complete 3 out of 5 of these, and then 3 out of 5 of these in the historical events. So people would wait until specific historical events were available, which suited them the best, and then they went from there. Now, I think they should bring these events back as I said, like as a War Thunder classic idea. But just understand these events had like fundamental problems. Like they really, there's a reason why they don't exist today. And I still think they should be brought back because I think it's important for people to realize what War Thunder used to be like, and also just to experience it and to see how different it is compared to how Gaijin does stuff nowadays. Because it's a very, very different world compared to what used to be. So that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you enjoy the footy today. Hopefully England can beat Argentina. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go watch it. So as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.